This guy's right in the comments. That's why I have 3 of them. And the rest of this video is old, and you'll see the cars I've bought and owned and driven on track, and the cars I come back to are Porsche. And thank you for all the comments and subscribers or all that. So I do appreciate all of that stuff. Thank you. Cheers. It's a good day. All right, here's every car that I've owned since moving to Texas. My infatuation with cars has been there since I was a little kid. I grew up in a junkyard and was infatuated with cars. I literally lived in the junkyard. We had a little mobile home or whatever. It had a trailer, but it was in the heart of this junkyard. And I loved cars. I started buying and selling cars when I was young, 13, 14 years old. I would get them fixed by a dude named Nacho. I just loved them. Porsche was for sure my favorite. 2005 to 2015, I owned a Chevy Express cargo van. That's what I owned. I drove it. That was my daily driver. I drove it everywhere I went. It had a giant dent down the side. I used it to pick up material. I also have used it to take a poo in the back one time in a bucket in a moment of desperation. And it definitely made me the most amount of money. I was able to load stuff in the back, flipping houses. I bought and sold and flipped 60 or 70 houses using that. After the 10 years in the Chevy Express cargo van, my first kind of sports car that I bought, which was a big thing for me, I paid $25,000 for it. I bought the 2015 Subaru WRX manual transmission. It was the hatchback. I was able to get the Cobb tune on it, change out the catback exhaust on it. That thing sounded like a beast, and it was like 330 horsepower or something like that, but it was so much fun to drive, all-wheel drive, and I love that car. Then I went on vacation to Asheville, North Carolina. I had no intentions to buy a car. I had to go number 2. I feel like there's a little bit of a theme going on here. We stopped off in a Porsche dealership, and sitting on the showroom floor was a used 2015 911 Carrera S. This was in 2016 at the time, so it was certified pre-owned. It only had like 4,000 miles on it. And I was able to buy that car for $100,000 out the door. It made me feel sick to my stomach because I spent so much money on it, but I was elated to be able to drive that car. I had a PDK, it was black on black, which I love black Porsches, and it fulfilled like a childhood dream of mine. After the Porsche 911, I bought a 2015 Nissan GT-R, then a 2011. The GT-R, by the way, is a bit of a disappointment. It definitely feels all Nissan, so suck it. I don't know what people's fanboys are for that car. It's fine. It's really fast in a straight line, but if you launch that thing more than 3 times in a row, it goes into limp mode. It's a Nissan. It was just okay. Then I bought a 2011 Ferrari 458. That thing was sick. It was white. I wrapped the roof black. I powder coated the wheels black, and that thing was amazing. It wasn't the fastest car in the world, but the sound of that thing and the looks of that thing, was beautiful. Then I bought a 2015 BMW M4 with the Dinan package. Giant disappointment. That thing sucked ass. I didn't like that car. I bought it in like the periwinkle blue, which I thought was cool, but then everyone made fun of me because they basically said that I'm driving a purple car, which I kind of was, but I've been fearful to buy a BMW since because of my experience with that. It just was not an impressive car. The shifts weren't clean. The way it laid down power was not smooth. It was okay. Then I bought a 2015 Lamborghini Huracan. That car was badass. Like, it had the looks, it had the sound. That V10 naturally aspirated engine was amazing. It was kind of a gray with black interior, which I really like gray. I powder coated that. I paid $205,000 for that and ended up selling it for $205,000. It was super clean, bought it used. And I did track that car, and it was really flat and reliable on a track. I'm not the world's greatest driver. There's some people who, this blah, blah, blah. It was an amazing car on track for me. I really loved that car. Then I bought a 2015 Porsche Turbo S. That was a lifelong dream of mine. The car that I had up on my wall growing up was a Porsche Turbo S. So it kind of filled that bucket. That thing was black, it was fast, it was cool. I did kind of feel like it was a little bit old man style. It didn't have the same responsiveness as some of the other Porsches that I've owned. It'd be an amazing car to do the tour, like touring, like what we did in Germany. That would be an amazing car for that. But if you're going to own a sports car, I don't know if that's the one I would get again. But I did really like it. The biggest disappointment was the next car, which I bought. I don't even know why I bought this. I bought it was kind of like on a whim. I bought a 2015 Mercedes CLA AMG. That thing was trash from the very beginning. I hated that car. That is just, I don't understand why people own that car. I feel like its power is terrible. I'm not even gonna spend any more time on that car. It was trash. Then I bought a 2016 McLaren 675 LT. That thing was badass. It had the butterfly doors. It was track oriented. It was super quick on a track. And the only regret I have about that was in McLaren way, it was just super unreliable. It was in the shop all the time. So I ended up selling that, but I did really like it. It was a really pretty gray color. And then I bought a 2017 Dodge Viper ACR. I bought that new. It had the manual transmission, obviously, and that thing was incredibly aggressive and violent to drive on the track. And it was super stable at high speeds, but anything low speeds, that it just put down too much power and didn't have the weight distribution because the engine's in the front. It wanted to come around on you, which it did twice, actually, for me, into a wall. And then I bought a 2016 Porsche GT3 RS. Again, I love the look of that car. Those are amazing cars. That may be the single best car if you could just buy a GT3 RS and drive that every single day. I don't love the GT3 RS on track because it does feel like the tail is a little snappy. I know there's going to be some people out there that are going to argue with that, but I prefer mid-engine cars on track. And the rear engine on that does feel a little bit snappy, but it's super cool. And it's understated enough that you can drive around and people don't treat you like a total douchebag. And then I did own a track-oriented car. It was 2016, the Porsche Clubsport mid-engine. It's on the 781 platform, and the only problem with that is it's grossly underpowered. Because it's corked up to be able to be homologated to run in these different races. I wasn't doing any sort of races, so I wanted to be able to unleash the power, and it just didn't quite have it. Then I bought the 2019 Senna, McLaren Senna. That was an amazing experience to be able to go over to Surrey, England. McLaren actually gave me $10,000 to be able to go over there and spec it. That experience was amazing. That car all in cost me $1.1 million, something like that. And it was incredibly cool. But what I quickly realized is driving a car like that on the streets is ridiculous. And I'm not rich enough to be able to have something happen to that car. And if you drive a car like that, and arguably some of these other more exotic looking cars, you drive that and people will literally sit like in your blind spot with a camera or a phone, which I totally get it. I would be that guy as well. But for the driver of that vehicle, it's somewhat terrifying, or at least it was for me, because the last thing I wanted to do is dent it, or whatever, and that shows up in the Carfax, and then I have to get it painted, and it's $60,000. Like, I just didn't have enough money to be able to own that car and really kind of do it right. But I can say that I bought it. I paid cash for it. It, made me crap myself a little bit, but it is what it is. Then I had the 2020 McLaren 720S Spyder, which is maybe the car that I regret selling the most. It was convertible. I bought it new. It looked really clean. It had the cool doors. And the 720s have been proven like they're a good value proposition for a sports car. They have tons and tons of power. They look amazing. They're super fast. And that car I bought, it was probably $280,000, something like that. I ended up selling it for like $210,000. I sold it for a big loss, and I still regret that one. Then I owned a 2020 McLaren 570S GT4. That was a car that's dedicated track only. It's about 60% 570S and 40% race car, or maybe the opposite. I don't know. It's close. But that car I bought when McLaren took me up to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They let me kind of test drive it and drive it up there, and it was really fun to drive. I rode with some pro drivers there. They had ridiculous cars up there. They had five, they had the P1 GTR, they had P1, they had a Senna GTR, they had all of these cars up there. It was a really cool event, and I ended up kind of getting caught up in that, and I bought myself a 570S GT4, which I still think, after all of my different track cars, I think that is the best dedicated track car I owned, just because of its forgiveness and its ease to drive. It was just a lot of fun. It was able to turn out pretty quick lap times, and it didn't break that much for a McLaren, which was nice. Anyway, that led me into my next car, which was a 2020 McLaren 570S. The turbos had been changed out. I don't know why I did this. So I was thinking, oh, okay, let's get a McLaren. And now the turbos are changed out and all of this other stuff to be able to give it more power. And I realized, hindsight being what it is, like I never should have done that. But I ended up selling that one pretty quickly. And then I bought my track car that I ended up driving before I quit driving at the track was a 2015 Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo. That thing's an absolute beast. Way more of a car than I need to have. It had the sequential transmission, and it was a handful to handle on the track. And that led me to a midlife crisis. I thought a midlife crisis is where you go and buy the cars. Well, anyway, my midlife crisis led me to sell the cars. So I ended up selling all of those cars, got weirdly into golf, still am into golf. And I had lost the joy from cars. It felt like I was chasing either a track time, or I was chasing the next car, or this or that. It just never felt like I was happy with the present car that I had. And so I ended up selling everything and ended up going to like electric cars. So I bought a Tesla Model X, and then I had a Tesla Model Y, and then a Rivian. And then I ended up I ended up buying the Porsche Taycan. I still own that car, and learned to appreciate what those cars can do. The Porsche Taycan's an amazing car. That's kind of where I landed, because the Teslas all felt like I was driving a computer a little bit. The Porsche Taycan just feels totally different than Teslas. It feels like it's a Porsche, first and foremost, that's powered by electric, as opposed to an electric car that they try to like make drive. I don't know. So the Porsches I own now are the Taycan, the 2022 Porsche GT3 manual transmission, sport bucket seats. It's all blacked out. I was able to spec that car and bought it at MSRP, so I'm in a good position on that one. I don't know if I'll ever sell that car, just simply because I think it's the end of an era. The engine on it's amazing. The naturally aspirated engine is amazing, and it is understated enough that you can drive it, you can take your wife out, you could go wherever you want. It doesn't get the same attention as some of these other cars, which is totally fine by me. I would infinitely prefer that. And then tomorrow, I'm actually going to pick up my GT4 RS. That's going to kind of be my track car, allow me to get back into the track scene and enjoy the things I enjoy about the track, which isn't about setting the fastest lap time, although that was pretty fun. But it allows me to get back into that scene, gives me a way to be able to get up to the track and back without having to have a trailer or race teams or extra tires or brakes or all that other that I had to deal with the fully homologated race cars. It is an amazing car, the GT4 RS. Again, I had to pay $50,000 over sticker for that. Think of me however you want to think of me on that. I did that, and I don't know if that's a car I ever sell. There is going to be some cool things that I'm going to do with that, so you need to stay tuned. Let me know what you think. Which is your favorite car? Which car would you not have sold? What are your interests? Let me know which track car you would want to own between the Porsche Clubsport, the McLaren 570S GT4, and the Huracan. Remember to like and subscribe. It helps me out. Stay tuned. Look forward to seeing you next time.